Hi, and welcome to the premiere episode of Season 8 of The Journal. Sorry for the delay, folks. We've been having some technical difficulties, but we'll get right back into it. The Journal is an 8-part series filled with informative and entertaining stories. I'm Kevin Excande. Today we'll be looking at various walks of life. We will meet a guitar hero fanatic, as well as a collector of some spectacular glowing rocks.
I'm Alex Young. We will also have a special Olympic segment, 3 stories, one featuring Jenna Gert, a former Olympic gymnast, the other featuring Crispin Duenas, a current Olympic archer, and thirdly, our reporter Chris Spadafora will let us in on his opinion of the Olympic Games.
This week, we will also be joined by talented guitarist and singer Laura Scarlett-Lewis, and also the Wrecking Crew, which is an improv group who performs on the Danforth at a coffee shop every Friday night.
But first, let's look into a more serious issue, the current economic crisis. With layoffs and bankruptcy rising at a rapid pace, everyone is feeling the effects, and some small businesses may not be able to make it through these tough times. Journal reporter Candace Leca visited some local restaurants to find out just how much the current state of the economy is affecting their business.
It's been almost a year now, and the reality has pretty much set in. We're in a slowdown. Many restaurants are quietly going out of business, and down on the Danforth, I met with a couple Greek restaurant owners to see what they had to say about the recent economy.
Astoria Shish Kebab House, and I've been here for 10 years. I'm one of the owners of the restaurant, and my favorite thing is to be hands-on and deal with people every day, different types of people in the environment. We've seen slowdowns through the Monday and Thursday business. Regular diners, we find, instead of coming 2 or 3 times a week, are now coming once or twice.
This is the Greek Grill. I've been working here for the past 15 years. It's very bad. Usually this time of the year, the business are down every year regardless of the economy. But because of the economy, it's getting worse than it was like every year. They're afraid to spend. It's tough, but it's when it's family owned, and especially here, it's not only family, it's we're partners, 5 partners. We put all the effort and a lot of work, 7 days a week, 12 to 14 hours a day. And that's the only way to survive.
We've cut back on hours. Labor hours, of course, is one of your biggest things to cut down on. So we've done that, and of course, ordering less product, on the less busier days as well. So that's helped us quite a bit.
If the economy continues, it's going to be tough to afford the rent that we paid. We have a high rent on Danforth.
The media usually, again, blows things up a bit more than usual. I think they have made a bit of a hype than it really is.
I hope it's not going to continue like they say. But the people already, they're scared to spend. They're scared, they don't know what it's going to be the next day, if they have a job or not. So things will tell in time.
Welcome back. It's unfortunate that all these small businesses, long-running businesses, are affected so greatly by the state of the economy. We can only hope that things will turn around in the near future. Now let's switch to a lighter note. Our next story focuses on Eliot Rudner, a true guitar hero and also well-known in the elite gaming world.
Eliot is a hardcore gamer and has his own Guitar Hero-based podcast. He's even been flown to LA to test unreleased game material. Let's find out just what it takes to rise to the top of the Guitar Hero world.
On November 8, 2005, a product was released that changed the music business forever. No, it wasn't a new instrument or even recording gear. It was a video game called Guitar Hero.
Basically what Guitar Hero is you have a plastic guitar and you have notes coming down vertically towards the bottom of the screen. What you have to do is you have to strum and hit the right color at the right time.
This is Eliot Rudner, a Guitar Hero pioneer. For Eliot, Guitar Hero isn't just a game, it's a lifestyle.
I used to go to York University and play Guitar Freaks for $1 and used to fantasize about buying the guitar on eBay so I could play it at home. And you know, we talked about, like, I was young, like we didn't have credit cards. We're like, oh, we'll get my dad to buy it and we'll like play it all day, and then we'll go to the arcade and we'll like there used to be like these Japanese guys that came in like with leather jackets. They would just like rock the game, and I was like, oh, I want to be that good at it. Like I want to play on expert double speed and stuff like that. And it just never happened. And then one day I was looking on the internet, I see like Guitar Hero. I'm like, yes, finally I get this game.
Eliot has been playing Guitar Hero ever since the first version, and has become well known over the web for his vast knowledge of the game and his popular Guitar Hero podcast.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely deterred most of the rock band vocal community from even playing the game. Seeing as how I'm still ranked like 16th. I mean, come on.
Right, yeah. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, you know, for the most part,
I think what separates Guitar Hero from any game out there is there's a kind of a musical application of it, despite how people will comment on videos, you know, play a real guitar, or this would be impressive if it was a real guitar. The skill sets, I guess, that come with being good at the game are a good sense of rhythm, finger dexterity, a certain amount of, I guess, like reflexes. Also, one thing that it does is with the downloadable content, it exposes people to new music they never even would have thought of listening to anymore. And at a time where, in my opinion, the music industry is there's some really bad stuff being put out there on mainstream, it's actually now the video games that are kind of saving rock and roll. The biggest accomplishment not related to, I guess, points in the game is that because of my, you know, involvement in the community, Neversoft, Red Octane actually flew me out to play Guitar Hero World Tour in LA, which was pretty cool to play it before everyone. And we all gave feedback, like myself and the Score Hero moderators and my fellow podcast host, Frankie. Yeah, it's a plastic toy, and you know, we're playing, but it's fun. And people like to have fun. And you know what? Not everyone needs to play real guitar. It's not some rule that everyone needs to be a musician. I mean, I saw one comment where it was like, you know, why don't you play real guitar and like it'll be like more rewarding? And so, no, I'm a gamer. I'm not a musician, you know? Just like straight up. It's like not everyone needs to play real guitar. And if people are worried that Guitar Hero and Rock Band is destroying like music industry and all the kids are not going to want to play real guitar, they're just going to sit on the couch and like be instantly gratified, I guess, by playing these games, they're wrong. If they want to play real guitar, they'll play real guitar. If they don't want to play real guitar, they'll play Guitar Hero.
Eliot continues to play Guitar Hero as much as he can, not for glory or for popularity, but for the sheer love of the game. And that's something we can all atone to. For the Journal, this is Stephen Dalcin.
I'm no Eliot Rudner, but thank you, Cleveland. Thank you, Toronto. Now it's time to take a look into a different kind of rock. But to find this one, you might actually have to leave your house.
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. While one person may find a rose beautiful, another person may see the same beauty in, let's say, a rock. Reporter Kate Garbino brings us a story about some extraordinary rocks.
Alvin's typical day includes waking up at 9 a.m. and driving off with music on his stereo and goods on his van. But that's not what's interesting about him. He's mostly famous because of his innumerous rock collection.
I'm Calvin Jones. I'm presently the Vice President of the Scarborough Gem and Mineral Club, and I've been doing lapidary, which is the cutting of stones to enhance the beauty and to make them into jewelry.
Rocks in his collection comes in different form of shapes and sizes. So how does he choose his rocks to make it into a jewelry?
I would first want to see that there was a variety of color or a unique pattern in the design. And that always helps with my layout. When you're cutting a stone, you can take any stone and enhance it by having the layout. And then I would take templates, or I would draw my shape that I wanted to cut to make something look eye-appealing.
Lately, he has been into fluorescent rocks, or as we call it, glow in the dark rocks.
Fluorescent minerals, they absorb electrons and then they emit that electrons, giving off energy in a different color. I am working on using the fluorescence to make jewelry for the party scene. I'll carve and grind them into various shapes and various pendants. One thing is that it costs you nothing to get interested in the hobby, but it is so rewarding.
Welcome back. I don't know about you, but I've never seen anything like that before. I bet we'll be seeing a lot of those in the future. Later on in the show, we'll have a live performance by Laura Lewis. She is a local singer who is competing in a national competition called the JP Fits All Sorts Finals. So stay tuned for that performance later on the Journal.
Now we enter our Olympic segment of this episode. Alex, how do you feel about the Olympics?
I'm feeling pretty good. Don't really watch them often myself, but
no. Did you watch the last one in Beijing?
I did not watch the Beijing Olympics. I think I watched maybe one event, but I've never been a big Olympic fan.
Really, I'm a huge Olympic fan.
Right.
If you're not, for anyone who's watching, if you guys aren't, I would just recommend to watch even just the opening. The Beijing opening, amazing.
Do you think the opening will be just as good for Vancouver?
I hope so. It's our country. So, but they probably use, if you watched it, they probably use like $1 gajillion. Yeah.
Specifically, $1 gajillion. Yeah. Wow, that is a large number.
It is, isn't it? All right, well, let's start getting into our Olympic segment. We'll be taking a look at two amazing athletes. 22-year-old Crispin Duenas, a young and gifted archer, who is also a current Olympian. He's going to take us on his journey of becoming a successful archer.
But first we will look at former Russian Olympian Jenna Gert. As a child, she was trained in gymnastics, which eventually took her to the Olympics. After the Olympics, as a young adult, she moved to Canada and studied kinesiology. She now trains other gymnasts at her own fitness center. Let's take a look at her story as she teaches reporter Eric Marchen how to build a muscle or two.
At this time of year, many of us see our New Year's resolutions fading away, whether it is saving money, stop smoking, being a politer person, or volunteering time. We rarely carry through. The most popular resolution is to lose weight, get into shape, and eat healthier. Let's consult an expert who not only owns and runs a women's fitness center, but is a former Olympic athlete and gymnast. Her name is Jenna Gert. I'm going to ask Jenna for some personal advice. I'm a 20-year-old college student and need to get into shape and start living a healthier lifestyle. Let's see what she recommends for me.
Do this on a regular basis. At least come in the gym 3 times a week. Eat properly, because losing the weight, it's not only about the exercises, it's about the eating properly. 80% of the weight loss we get from the nutrition and only 20% from exercising, right? And it can be fitness without the good nutrition, because you can work hard as hard as you can, and then you can come home and eat a lot. It doesn't work this way, right? Working hard, it doesn't mean you're gonna lose weight. It should be everything in a complex: nutrition, fitness, daily activities.
Working out is only part of the strategy. Eating healthy with proper sleep is a big part of improving your wellness. Let's see what Jenna has to say about food for college students.
Definitely you have to avoid junk food. You have to eat at least 5-6 times per day, small meals every 3-4 hours. You shouldn't feel hungry. to keep your metabolism working, right, you have to eat everything: protein, carbohydrates, and fat, but the good fat. Everything you can get from fruits and vegetables, whole grains, meat, lots of water. You have to drink at least 2 to 3 liters water per day.
Well, I learned a lot about health and fitness today from one of the best gym trainers in the Durham region. I'm Eric Marchen, reporting for the Journal. Now back to Alex and Kevin in the studio.
Thank you, Eric. I really feel burned. With that routine, I think we could get into the Olympics, Alex.
Ah, no, I got stitches from watching it.
Well, Archer Crispin Duenas is currently a student at University of Toronto and also a proud Canadian Olympian. One of the main reasons he's an archer is because of Robin Hood. Now let's take a look at this real-life Robin Hood and his experience at the Olympics.
Welcome to the world of archery. Welcome to the world of archery. Welcome to the world of archery.
University of Toronto. I am currently a member of the Canadian archery team, and I have just competed at the Beijing Olympics for 2008.
I met Crispin in August of 2000, about a month before the 2000 Olympic Games in Sydney, at the archery range in the E.T. Seton Park in Toronto. And at the time he was shooting a compound bow. So I had watched him shoot, and I thought he could be a really good shooter. And I suggested that he should shoot a recurve bow, which is the bow that's eligible for Olympic competition. And a week later I came back and he was there, and he had sold his compound bow and purchased a full setup of Olympic equipment.
In the summer of 2008, Crispin, along with 2 teammates, traveled to Beijing to compete in the Olympics, where they would go on to win the silver medal.
For me, it was like basically just another competition, but I don't think it really hit me until I walked in for the opening ceremonies with Team Canada, and I got to do the whole waving at the crowd and wearing the Canadian uniform with pride, and like singing "O Canada" while we were walking in. People didn't hear us on TV, but we were doing it.
Olympian coach Joan McDonald has been involved in the sport of archery for over 50 years. A former 3-time Canadian champion, McDonald has competed on an international scale. Now, for over 20 years, she's dedicated her life to coaching athletes such as Crispin.
Humongously, his skills have improved. He's not the same archer now as he was in 2000 at all. So his technique has improved, and in fact, over the intervening 8 years, we have rebuilt his technique probably 3 times from the bottom up. And the last time was in 2006, and that was a pivotal point, actually, when we picked up one of the last technical skills that he really needed to be successful.
In the past, archery was associated with hunting and warfare. Although these practices are rare today, the sport still maintains a low profile despite its loyal following and the numerous organizations dedicated to it.
A lot of misconception about this sport is that it's really boring. And I would say that it's not boring once you know what's going on. It's kind of like the sport of football, right? Once you know all the rules, then you're going to be right into the game. And well, it's the same thing in archery. You know that some guy has to shoot a 9 just to tie his score, or he has to shoot a 10 to win it, right? And that'll keep you on the edge of your seat. But the media doesn't cover this basically because they're trying to appeal to the masses. and get everybody, you know, the hockey, the baseball, the soccer, the steroid use, all that stuff. We're starting to make a name for ourselves. We had a full team go to the Olympics this year, which hasn't been done in a long time. As long as we keep going on with our trends of just getting better and better, then we can start notifying the media about our accomplishments at World Championships. Then you'll start hearing us on the news, on the 11 o'clock news and all that stuff, and that'll start getting us out there. But for now, it's okay that the media doesn't really pick up on us, but we have to make a name for ourselves first, and then we'll start, you know, telling everybody.
Hey Alex, you know who the best archer is?
Who, Kevin?
Cupid.
The Olympics are a big part of the sporting world. It showcases some of the world's greatest athletes, but at a price. What some of you may not know is that the Olympics are a multi-billion-dollar business. All the preparation of crews, materials, and equipment can be a lot of money spent for a country. So is it worth it? Here's our very own Chris Spatafora ready to answer that question for you.
Okay, so this is how I see it. Every 2 years, a country is selected to host these Olympic Games. But for what purpose? I suppose one could argue that it brings the world together in friendly competition for 2 weeks. But is this really worth it? Building up the global community is good and all, but should the financial burden really be placed on one country? No, especially since we're dealing with a multi-billion-dollar function. An example of this is the stadium being built for the 2010 Olympic Games in Vancouver. The thing has already cost $580 million, and that's a nice $110 million over budget. However, the thing is on time for completion, so I suppose that's a good thing. However, on top of this cost, we have the cost of security, which was originally $175 million, but that's ballooned to a whopping $1.8 billion, and that's just security. However, I don't suppose this is as bad as China, who hosted the Summer Games in 2008. Their games ended up costing them a whopping $58.5 billion US in construction, security, and media access. And that's not including the additional cost of cleaning the air enough to have people come in and compete. So, what do athletes have to gain from participating in these games? Average training handout in Canada is around $10,000 a year. However, you can't really survive on $10,000 a year, so most of them are forced to work a second or third job just to make ends meet. If you want to argue about tradition, then one could say that every country has its own traditions, so what makes Greece so special? If we really wanted to stick to tradition, we'd sacrifice a sheep to Zeus before the games commence, but I'm sure Peter would have an issue with that. So, in order to find out if others share my opinion on the games, I took to the streets of Toronto to see if the general public thinks that the cost to put on the games is worth the end result.
Of course, it's for the athletes and for everyone around the world to see what these people could actually do, and of course.
I don't know. I think it's something that brings people here and they spend some money. If we break even, fine. But I don't know if it's actually worthwhile.
Depends on where it is and the type of city, if they could afford it or not. Yeah.
All right, cool. Thanks.
All right, man.
I'm kind of split on that one, on the fence. Depends. Yeah, I'm on the fence on that one. Because I think that a lot of times they're spending too much money on things, which, is not going to good causes after the fact.
Very often you hear someone so fundamentally against the Olympics, particularly in a period of economic crisis. Now we are joined by Laura Lewis, a young singer-songwriter from Ajax, Ontario. Today she will be performing an original song entitled Decide. Ladies and gentlemen, Laura Lewis. So hard to follow.
The night, the moon, everything that reminds me of you, but I can't go back. No, I can't go back, 'cause I till you walk back into my life. I try to get you off of my mind, but you're back and now I can't decide. I know deep down inside you're a good man, but you hurt me, made me cry. I can't go back. No, I can't go back. I thought it was alright till you walk back into my life. I try to get you off of my mind, but you're back and I can't decide. All of this time I've been waiting for you, and even after all the tears I've cried, I'm still in love with you. 'Cause I thought it was alright till you walk back into my life. I tried to get you off of my mind, but you're back and now I can't decide. You're back and now I can't decide. You're back and now I can't decide.
Thank you so much, Laura. That was amazing.
Thank
Absolutely
you.
amazing. So tell me, what inspires you to write and perform music?
Well, just the experiences in my life and the experiences of other people in my life and everything, really. Just, yeah,
Awesome.
that's, yeah.
Are there any major events that maybe motivated you into more performance and more singer-songwriter type of thing, or?
Well, I've always been singing since I was a little kid, and when I got a little bit older, I mean, my dad played the guitar, and so he sort of got me into that, and I've just sort of been performing ever since, whether it be with my family or in front of a large crowd.
Awesome. And I understand that, speaking of large crowds, you recently won a competition in Whitby. What can you tell us about that?
Yes, I won the semifinals, and I'm going on to the finals. It's on March 27th in Whitby at J.P. Fitzpatrick's. If anyone wants to come out, you know.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Anytime. Our final story today features some seriously funny people. They're called the Wrecking Crew, and they perform improv comedy at a local coffee shop. For each performance, they stand up in front of a crowd without the slightest idea of what the subject of their show will be. They're at the complete mercy of the audience, which puts them in some pretty hilarious situations.
So this show is comedy on the Danforth. We do this every Friday night at 9 o'clock. There's two troops that alternate the performing duties. Some weeks you can see a group called Better Than Nothing, and they are fabulous. We are the Wrecking Crew, and we're very happy to be here tonight. By your noise, applause, whoops, whatever you want to do. How many people have seen a show here before? Make some noise. So if you haven't seen the show here, what we're doing is an hour of improv comedy, which means we are making stuff up on the spot. We have a little shopping list of things that we're going to ask you guys at the start of each of our games. So this show is comedy on the Danforth. We do this every Friday night at 9 o'clock. There's two troops that alternate the performing duties. Some weeks you can see a group called Better Than Nothing, and they are fabulous. We are the Wrecking Crew, and we're very happy to be here tonight. By your noise, applause, whoops, whatever you want to do. How many people have seen a show here before? Make some noise. So if you haven't seen the show here, what we're doing is an hour of improv comedy, which means we are making stuff up on the spot. We have a little shopping list of things that we're going to ask you guys at the start of each of our games and scenes, but the content of what we actually do up here is improvised. We don't know where it's going to go. We just want you guys to have as much fun in the process as we are. And we will need volunteers. We will actually need somebody or maybe two people at one time to come on up here and help us out do something very silly and fun. Very, very fun. It's non-threatening.
I started first doing improv about 20 years ago, but I haven't done improv consistently for 20 years. I was doing sketch comedy more regularly for a while, actually largely with one of the guys, Rob, who is playing tonight. So we used to have a very active duo called Fast and Dirty, which technically still exists.
Trying to catch a football boneheadedly thrown by a jerk friend who at least brings good beer.
I believe that improv is magic, and I'm only being slightly metaphoric. You can come up with stuff that an audience believes is true and real and makes them laugh and can touch them emotionally, and it's never been seen before and it'll never be seen again. And it's all about trusting the moment and trusting each other. I just think it's an amazing metaphor for life, like putting yourself out there and not really knowing what's going to happen next.
Okay, fine. I was littering with Madonna in Easter Island.
Okay, take it away.
It just blows me away that people willingly come out to see the shows in both troops, you know, and just like clockwork. We have one couple, they come all the way from Pickering, Jim and Judy, and it's just like, that's amazing. They've come out for years, and they've always been so supportive of us.
You know, we just enjoy coming. So we always come down on Fridays, we have dinner down here, and then we come to the show.
I've got some Jello pudding. I got some white wine spritzer in the boat.
You were supposed to be warriors.
We're warriors of love. The end.
You know, Kevin, I wasn't always a host. I actually went to medical school to be a doctor, but I didn't have the patience. It's a fun. Hey, have you heard the one about...
Well, that's all the time we have for today. Tune in next week when we will be featuring a story about Filipino mothers who leave their families in the Philippines to earn money as nannies in Western countries. Many of them separated from their families for years, and the effect is devastating on them and their families.
We'll also be featuring a story about a Canadian entrepreneur, Eden Herzog, who started a business in her teens that turned out to be a great success.
All right, so tune in next week for these stories and much more next Thursday at 4 p.m. Thank you for watching.